So let's see what Matt Walsh has to say about Andrew Tate.
We opened the show yesterday with a discussion about the crisis of masculinity and the rise of Andrew Tate. And to very briefly summarize the key points made in that conversation, boys are growing up in a culture that is openly hostile to masculinity, and many are forced to navigate the minefield without the benefits of strong male role models to show them the path. And this crisis is self-perpetuating. It grows exponentially because the young men with absentee fathers eventually become absentee fathers themselves, repeating the cycle indefinitely unto infinity. And into this field of confusion and man-hatred steps guys like Andrew Tate and others, quickly earning an enormous following of young men who understandably flock to somebody who has a message that embraces masculinity rather than treating it like a disease. Andrew Tate, very often good at identifying the problems in our culture as they pertain to the situation that men face, and deserves credit for speaking up in defense of masculinity rather than denigrating it and calling for its eradication, essentially. But in my view, he misses the mark when it comes to the remedy. He seems to basically understand the disease, but he doesn't have the right prescription for it, or at least the full prescription. Yes, men should reject the programming that our culture wants to subject them to, programming which seeks to neuter and feminize them. Yes, they should work hard. They should take care of their minds and their bodies. Yes, they should strive for success, including financial success. But a life of hedonism and materialism and luxurious wealth, remaining unmarried while sleeping with dozens of different women and so on, is not the ideal to strive towards. Rather, what men are called to and created for, and the only sort of life that will be truly happy, that they'll find true happiness and joy in, is a life of service as protector and provider. Men, the vast majority of men.
So far, I agree with him. I agree with what he's saying. The only thing one thing I don't agree about what he's saying is as far as Andrew Tate and what he is advocating for young men. I don't think it's correct that he's just advocating, have sex with a lot of women, luxury, a lavish life, cars, sports cars. I feel like that's what he does to reel people in. It reels young men in because he's playing off of what he knows young people like because he was young at some point, and that is what he liked. We all, young men, like a lot of the same things: sports, cars, women. It's not that, money. And usually the money is what brings all of that stuff in there anyway. So I don't think his main objective is to tell young men that they need to live a luxury life. He knows, and if you're a smart person, if you're somewhat intelligent, you should know that the majority of people are not going to live like Andrew Tate. Most men are not going to live like him. So, but what he's trying to do is he's trying to tell you need to be strong. You need to get in the gym. You need to work out, work on yourself, work on your mental health, work on all of these things in order to even get a woman to like you, to notice you. I think that is one of his main goals when it comes to speaking to the youth. I don't think it's about, I don't agree with it being about sex, having sex with a large amount of women, cars, luxury lifestyle. He says that stuff because that's the life that he is living, So that's probably the only thing I disagree with what he's saying right now.
Anyway, are called to be husbands and fathers, to be leaders of their families. Now, they may be called to lead in other ways too, but first they must care for their families. If there's any saving our civilization at this point, which I think there is, but if there is, this is how it will be done. And this is who will do it. It's not going to be saved by influencers who are sitting in front of cameras, whether the guy in front of the camera is Andrew Tate or me or anyone else. It'll be saved through the formation and preservation of strong, intact, loving, and well-led families. That is the only way. It is the only way forward. If every man in the country starts going to the gym and starts making lots of money and starts having sex with lots of attractive women, and yet they don't get married and stay married and have children and raise and love those children, then we will still be headed to ruin. It'll be a slightly different kind of ruin, but ruin all the same. Those men themselves will ultimately find the happiness that they are able to derive in that lifestyle. They'll find that it's shallow and it's fleeting. And in the end, they'll die alone, loved by no one, loving no one, remembered by no one, leaving no legacy behind. The feminized and neutered and effeminate man that our left-wing culture seeks to create, and then this other sort of man, both unmarried, both childless, will look very similar in the end, having taken two very different paths just to arrive together at essentially the same place.
So yeah, I can agree with that. I can agree with what he's saying. I don't think that everyone should just go to the gym, have sex with a bunch of women, and because at the end of the day, you're still going to end up lonely, you know. And what he's basically saying is, we were put on this earth for a reason, and one of the main reasons that we are here is to reproduce. We are supposed to be here to make the human race continue. You have to have people having kids. So in his perspective, which I believe he's Catholic, his thing is marriage. You need to be married and you need to have kids. I agree with that. There are some people who aren't religious, and they may not believe in that. And there's other religions where you can have multiple wives. There's a bunch of religions that do that, right? So, which I believe Andrew Tate practices. And I don't think that he's never said, from what I've heard, he's never said that you shouldn't get married. He still believes in marriage. He believes in marriage, and I think he has like 4 wives. And he believes in having kids. He wants a big family. So he's a big advocate for what he's saying. I think they are on the same path. They're talking about the same thing. But I think that Matt doesn't really watch his interviews all the way through. I think he kind of watches. He's one of those people that kind of watches the clips of Andrew Tate, and he takes those clips and he's like, I like what he's saying, but I don't like, what he's pushing, like how he's pushing it. And but you have to listen to everything that Andrew Tate is saying. You have to watch the full interview. And I don't think that Matt does that. The good thing about Matt, though, is that he's not, he hasn't once like disrespected him. He didn't call him a misogynist. He didn't, he didn't slander his name or anything like that. All he's really saying is that, Matt feels like there's a different way of going about this to make men stronger, and you need to start with having a family. But that's his way. Some guys don't have it that way. Some guys are having trouble being noticed. They're having trouble being noticed by women. So Andrew Tate is saying you need to get strong. You need to get some money, have something to offer to some of these women, because if you're weak physically, if you're weak financially, mentally, women are not going to want you. They're just not. They don't want a weak man. They want a strong man. They want a strong man in everything, in every aspect.
It's the family man, the devoted father and husband, whose different path actually leads to a different and much better conclusion. Now, I've, of course, been preaching this message for as long as I've had an audience to preach to, and I have found that there are like 2 or 3 basic responses or rebuttals, I guess, that I always hear from young men who may, for the most part, line up with me ideologically, but who doubt the wisdom of the get married and have kids prescription. And I was greeted with these same responses after the show yesterday, and many messages and comments. What I'd like to do today is answer the objections, or at least what seems to be the one principal objection. The claim that I so often hear is that, well, marriage and family life is a trap. It's a scam, especially for men. The whole thing is rigged against us. There is nothing for a man to do but give up on the entire enterprise and go his own way. In fact, there's a whole movement online, men go their own way. And that's basically the idea. just give up on this stuff and do something else.
Yeah, so I'll leave a link for you guys to go watch the rest of the video. I think it's about a 16 minute video. You guys can listen to the rest of what he talks about. But basically, I believe that they both have the same ideas. They both have the same. They want the same things for men. They want men to be, strong. They want them to be, accountable, mentally strong, financially strong. They both want the same things for men. It's just that Andrew's going about it in a different way. He reels men in. He makes it more. People, men want to see. They want to see. We're visual creatures, right? So we like to see cars. We like to see women. We like to see money. We like to see big houses and stuff like that. So he offers that, and that's what reels men in. It makes them watch, and in return, he teaches them some lessons. He teaches them, he gives them a little bit of wisdom. Whereas Matt, he's more low key. He's not, he's very conservative when it comes to that. And he's not going to be flashy. You'll probably never see what kind of car he drives. You'll probably never see his house. That's just not that's not how he gets his message across. He got it across in other ways. Like he talks about transgenders and, he's against some of the sexual preferences that people choose for themselves. The whole pronouns thing. I think he had a show called What is a Woman, or a movie, or it was a show or a movie, What is a Woman. So he does get controversial, so and that's what kind of made him popular in his field. And along the line, he's talked about men and how they need to be stronger. And his thing is, you need to be married. You need to get married and have children, because that's what we're on this earth for. And that's because that's the religious part of what he's talking about. That's his way of getting his message across. So I'm not saying that he's wrong. I think he's right. I do think that men should want to get with a woman, marry her. If you in another religion where you have multiple wives, do that. Do what you have to do. But ultimately, you guys should get together. Have children. Most women, not all women, but most women find their happiness when they have children. Their happiness is within the family. And then men, we find happiness as well in taking care of a family. A lot of people are not getting married as much. A lot of people are getting divorced. More people are getting divorced. There's reasons for that, but it could be fixed. Because a lot of the times is the states getting involved in marriage. It didn't used to be like that. Marriage used to be a religious agreement, a religious thing. That's where marriage came from. So, and you would just get married under God, and that would be it. There was no like paperwork and the state getting involved in legal stuff. But things have to be that way now, because especially when you split ways, if you split ways, you have properties you own, you have kids, so you have to figure out how you're going to split money and this, that, and the other. So that's a whole nother conversation. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you agree with Andrew Tate's way, or do you agree with Matt's way? Are they both basically talking about the same thing, just in a different manner? The good thing, like I said, Matt didn't disrespect Andrew Tate at all. And I think it would be a really good conversation if they could both get together and have their own like little podcast, or he be his guest, or Andrew Tate could have him as his guest, something like that. That would be dope to see, because I feel like they're both talking about the same thing. They just don't agree in the ways that they do it. Well, Andrew Tate hasn't spoke on it, but Matt doesn't agree on the way that Andrew Tate's, puts his message out there. He doesn't agree with that, which is fine. It's no big deal. So like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram right here, and follow both Instagrams. Follow the other one right here. and leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Appreciate y'all watching. Peace.